We all think that we see the world as it actually is, as if our eyes are like mini cameras recording the truth, capturing that reality. But I want to tell you that this is not true. It's an illusion. You don't see things the way that they are. You see things the way that you are. Every thought, every judgment, every truth that you hold passes through a filter made up of your experiences, your fears, your hopes, your conditioning. In other words, reality isn't something that you observe, it's something that you create moment by moment through this lens of who you are. We'd like to think that our perception is something very neutral. We like to say things like, I'm just being objective here, but objectivity simply does not exist in the human experience. Two people can look at the same situation and see completely different worlds. One person can see a threat, another person can see it as an opportunity. One sees disrespect, the other sees honest feedback. One sees chaos, the other sees potential. Same event, but it's being filtered through two different minds altogether. Now, psychologists call this selective perception. You don't notice a reality, you notice what fits into your story, and your story is shaped by who you are right now. There's an old story I used to tell when I was an assistant head teacher. It's about a farmer in ancient China. One day, his horse runs away, and the neighbors come by and say, "Oh no, how unlucky you are that your horse ran away." And the farmer says, "Oh yeah, maybe, who knows." And a few days later, the horse comes back and actually brings another horse with it. And the neighbors say, "Wow, that's lucky. Your horse not only came back, but it brought another horse with it." And the farmer says, "Yeah, well, maybe." And a week later, the farmer's son, riding the horse, the new horse, falls off the new horse, breaks his leg, and the neighbors rush over and say, "Oh, that's such bad luck." And the farmer's like, "Well, maybe." Not long after this, the army comes to the village and looking to recruit young men for war, and they can't take the farmer's son because obviously his leg is broken. And the neighbors say, "Oh, he's so lucky that he broke his leg." And the farmer's like, "Maybe." And it went on. The meaning of the story, as you probably figured out, is that you can never really tell if something is good or bad. And that can be translated into your life as well. What looks bad now might actually be good for you later. What looks good now might cost you later on. The story that we've told is not about whether something is lucky or unlucky. It's more about perception, the fact that we project this meaning onto everything that happens and label it as good or label it as bad. Your mind just can't observe an event. It has to label it. It has to say something. It's good, it's bad, it's fair, it's unfair. You're attaching emotions, you're attaching identity, attaching narrative. And those labels are not part of the event. They're part of you. They come from your values, your past experiences, your current mood, your beliefs about what should happen. The truth of the matter is we don't see the world as it is. We see the tint of our own eyes. Now, Carl Jung once said, everything that irritates us about other people can lead us to an understanding about ourselves. That's because perception is projection. When you look at the world, you're looking into a mirror, not a window. If you see hostility everywhere, ask yourself, is there hostility out there, or is it something unresolved within me? If you're constantly seeing opportunities, that's also a reflection of your mindset, your openness, your readiness to grow. The world outside mirrors your internal state. Now, the ancient Stoics understood this as well. They said it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And modern psychology agrees with this. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is based on that principle. Events don't cause the emotions, your interpretation of those events do. And in psychology, we call this framing, the frame you use to determine the meaning of what you see. So, take failure, for example. If your frame of mind is saying, I must succeed at all times, then failure will feel absolutely catastrophic. But if your frame is, every experience teaches me something, then that failure becomes feedback. Same event, different frame, different emotional response. And the key part of this is that you get to choose the frame. Think about the lens that you're wearing at the moment. It might be the lens of comparison, constantly measuring your life against others. It might be the lens of fear, always scanning for what might go wrong. Might be the lens of gratitude, where you see even the smallest things as a gift. Whatever the lens, that determines your world. And as Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. That is a great quote, and it's not just a motivational quote, it's a neurological fact. Your brain will literally rewire itself to focus on what you expect to see. When I was teaching, I remember giving an assembly about this idea. Some students were going through difficult times, friendship issues, exam stress, or normal teenage chaos that you have to deal with. And I told them that life isn't happening to you, it's happening through you. As in, what you see is being filtered through who you are. If you're seeing constant rejection, then maybe your lens is fear of not being enough. If you're seeing constant unfairness, maybe your lens is one of helplessness or control. But if you can train your mind to look for learning, to look for growth, to look for meaning, suddenly those situations become opportunities. And this idea is key to personal development, because if your perception can change reality, then self-work isn't about changing your habits, it's about changing the way you see things. People often say, I'll believe it when I see it, but I want you to think, I'll see it when I believe it. That's not wishful thinking, it's psychological priming. Your brain will filter reality to confirm what it already believes. So if you walk through the world expecting hostility, you'll find it. If you walk through the world expecting connections, you'll find that too. You can't escape this lens that we all have, but you can change it. So I'm going to give you a few steps on how to start to change the lens that you view the world, and as a result, how the world will provide you with what it is that you want. So step 1, awareness. You can't change what you can't see. So notice your automatic reactions. Notice the story your mind is telling you the moment something happens. Step 2, pause and question. Ask yourself, is that the only interpretation? What else could this mean? Would everyone in the world see this the same way? Usually I think you'll find the answer is no. That's where you can start to think about the change. Moving on to step 3, reframe. Choose a more empowering lens. Instead of saying, why is this happening to me? Try something like, what is this trying to show me? Instead of saying I failed, try I learned something new about myself. The point is you try to reframe your response in a different light. And finally, step number 4, practice. So it's not a one-time thing. You've got to practice it every time. Every time you have a situation, every time you have a reaction, go through these steps, reframe if needed until you get to a position where you're seeing things the way you want. And this is not pretending, it's just embodying that mindset that you want to make true. So next time you visualize success, don't just see the end result. See yourself in a successful position and ask yourself, how will this person interpret challenge? How will this person react to failure? How will the future successful me attach meaning to any setbacks? And that's where the real power of visualization comes in, where it changes the lens and changes the way that you view work. Now, just to talk briefly about visualization and this process, your brain doesn't really know the difference between imagined and real experiences at a neurological level. When you really vividly imagine something, the same neural pathways are firing as if you were doing it. And this is used by all sorts of disciplines. So elite athletes, for example, use mental rehearsal where they're practicing movement. And you can use that in terms of emotional resilience. When you practice seeing calm in chaos, gratitude in difficulty, possibility in failure, you're literally rewiring your brain to perceive things in the way that you want them. So let's try a simple exercise. And you can do this at the end of every day. Think of something that's recently upset you, in the day maybe. Something small, a rude comment maybe, a delay, a disappointment. Write down how you first interpreted, they don't respect me, or this always happens to me, or I'm unlucky. Now force yourself to write 3 alternative explanations. Maybe they were having a bad day. Maybe this was going to teach me patience. Maybe I avoided something worse. This process will help you retrain your mind to hold those multiple perspectives. And that's the beginning of freedom. Because often you can't choose what actually happens, but you can choose how you perceive it. And that choice is what shapes everything, your emotions, your energy, your relationship, and ultimately your life. It's the difference between having that reactive life and that creative life, between being a victim and a designer. So next time something happens and you instantly label it, just pause and say, am I seeing this as it really is? Or what lens am I seeing this through? Or how would the person that I want to become choose to see this? And you'll see that as soon as you change your view, the world will reflect that, will change as a result of that. Because by changing your lens, you've actually changed the way the world works, at least to you. And you'll find yourself living in a much better world. Because of your reaction, the way you see things is going to be much more productive and much better for you as a creative person in charge of their destiny rather than a victim of the circumstances that they're in. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to press subscribe, press like, and share this with somebody else who needs to change their lens. Thanks for watching. See you next time.